In 1945, after obtaining independence from over 400 years of Dutch domination, right now Indonesia is the largest economies in Southeast Asia and emerging market of the world because of strategic location in relation to the giant economies of China and India, abundant and diverse natural resources, young, large and burgeoning population, and relatively political stability. That's why, for the government, the current economic growth or progress isn't enough. So, in 2017, the Ministry of National Development Planning of Indonesia finished formulating a vision. The government of Indonesia's vision is to climb to the top of the world's largest economy list by investing in people, achieving high income status, and reducing poverty to nearly zero, based on these 4 pillars. This vision was officially launched by this guy, President Joko Widodo in 2019, in which he envisioned that Indonesia will become a developed country that will rise among the world's top 5 largest economies with a GDP of $7 trillion by 2045. President Joko himself comes from a humble merchant family. He understands that being the world's 4th populous country, and that's why, to boost the economy, Indonesia needs better infrastructure for people to escape poverty, which is almost 10%. That's why, after being first elected in 2014, his goal was to build more and more infrastructures, and by doing that, it made him a hero in front of millions of rural Indonesians. From 2015 to 2018, the Indonesian economy showed a stable development trend with an economic growth rate of around 5% annually. But Jokowi also knows that only investing in infrastructure won't make Indonesia a developed country. So when he was re-elected in 2019 for the 2nd term, he announced Vision 2045. And here all the challenges begin, because the vision he is expecting comes with very big challenges. Most countries today, social protection policies play important roles in building equity, resilience, and opportunity, and in strengthening human capital. Indonesia is no different. Indonesia already has a solid base to build from, which they've improved over the last 2 decades. But Indonesia's future SP system needs to adapt and respond to a changing world. Over time, as the economy continues to grow and Indonesia progresses further toward becoming a high-income country, it is expected that the share of the population that is poor, vulnerable, and the middle class will grow larger. Many of them will continue to be vulnerable to disability, death, and natural disasters. Small shocks can easily send the vulnerable back into poverty. So, technological changes in how and where people work, and demographic developments will impact the type of social protection system and programs needed. In sum, investing in social protection will give Indonesia a head start to ensure it protects and promotes all as it moves toward achievement of its ambitious 2045 targets. Talking about GDP, to achieve net zero poverty, Indonesia must increase GDP by 5% on average every year to achieve Vision 2045. You would be thinking this is ridiculous and impossible. But actually, in 2016 to 2017, Indonesia managed to increase their GDP slightly above 5%. Maybe this is one of the many reasons why Jokowi and his party are so positive about their vision of 2045. But the US-China trade war created a growing concern for Indonesia's economy. Because of their trade war, the growth of the trade balance of Indonesia declined in 2018 by 20,000 million. Also in 2018, foreign direct investment (FDI) decreased 8.7%, which is equal to $29.3 billion. Trade wars and United States trade policies have disturbed Indonesia's exports to the country and negatively affected the trade balance. Indonesia is undergoing a period of demographic transition that will impact labor market dynamics and human capital in the coming decades. The number of older Indonesians will increase significantly, and this can cause an industrial manpower shortage for building infrastructures. Also, Indonesia has a shortage of engineers. Indonesia produces less than 50 engineering graduates per 100,000 population. The Program for International Student Assessment Test showed that Indonesian students were performing at lower levels in all areas. A shocking 42% of Indonesian students were failing to meet minimum standards in all 3 areas covered by the test, being outperformed by students in neighboring Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim population, is still often promoted as an example of a modern and moderate Islamic democracy. However, religious radicalization has also been on the rise by growing levels of Muslim conservatism. The moderate Jokowi has used several strategies to silence radicalism, like banning groups like Hizbut Tahrir Indonesia, which calls for a global caliphate of believers. According to Indonesian Muslim Report 2019, conducted with 1,567 respondents in 34 provinces, the report suggests almost 60% of the country's young generation identified as conservatives, especially Generation Z, aged between 14 and 21 years old, and young millennials 22 to 29. One of the reasons behind Indonesia's growing young conservatives is because almost half of the Indonesian education institutes follow religious-based education. Improving the education system in Indonesia is thus not only about increasing skilled manpower, but requires a fundamental shift towards changing people's culture and mind to achieve Vision 2045. Despite all of the challenges, the question is, how come the President Jokowi is so confident about being the 5th largest economy by 2045? Jokowi's first-term practical economic development planning, which has achieved significant results in the past 5 years. As a key achievement, Indonesia's new economic output is rising. The country has generated 5 unicorn companies, each with value surpassing $1 billion. That's why, to turn its youth into productive age, the government launched its Making Indonesia 4.0 roadmap as a national-level strategy, with the goal of upgrading the economy's competitiveness and boosting industrial output. Not to mention that the vision itself was planned and formed in a way to get over all the mentioned challenges and to give Indonesia a sustainable future like any other rich country. As a result, international markets have maintained positive expectations for the Indonesian economy. But if millions of Indonesians want a sustainable, better future, Widodo's 2045 dream may be very challenging, but not impossible.